All right, so today I want to talk about how you can get onto the Apple App Store #1 in the span of a weekend. So this is really fascinating to me because I look at the people that have a lot of influence, a lot of subscribers, a lot of followers, and Mr. Beast happens to be a good example. I think on his just YouTube alone, he's got over 50 million subscribers across his channels. So, all he does is not all he does, but a lot of what he does is very generous acts, right? Where he gives away a lot of money to people that are in need. He gives cars away and things like that. So this is inherently the content he creates is very viral. Sometimes he'll give away $1 million and things like that. So if we take a look at my screen over here, we can see that this post over here, it shows that #1 on the App Store, not even just over the weekend, but within 24 hours of launching his burger company. And so Mr. Beast Burger, he launched over 300 restaurants, and I think he actually gives people money to come on in. But you can see it's higher than YouTube, it's higher than TikTok, and well, when you're top on the charts like that, you're going to get a ton of downloads, right? So how does that happen exactly? Well, all he does is he pushes to his audience. He announces whether it's on Instagram or whether it's on YouTube, and he just says, "Hey guys, this is what's going on right now," and look at the power of what he's been able to do. And so, if we look over here you can see he's #1 in food and drink, and over here, well, this is not the right one, but this is Shop Mr. Beast. But the point is, if you go out there and you build the audience first, it's gonna be a lot easier to build a business around that, right? Versus, and I think the new way of doing this is you focus on building the audience first, which is why you see a lot of young creators going on YouTube or going on Twitch or TikTok. Charlie D'Amelio, as an example, she's built a massive following, and from there you can go figure out, do you want to go do an apparel line? Do you want to go sell? Perhaps you can train people on how to do things or whatever it is exactly, right? So I would just say for me, the example is I hover around the world of marketing. And so it makes sense for me to train people in terms of marketing. It makes sense for me to have marketing software. It also makes sense for me to have peer groups or events with other founders and entrepreneurs because, marketing and business is kind of tied together. It makes sense for me to have an agency as well, right? So, but everything I've built so far has come around the growing audiences, and I'll continue to do that. So, I don't have audiences nearly as big as Mr. Beast, but the podcast marketing school or the podcast leveling up or even this YouTube channel, it's significant enough to build a business around it, right? And if I go B2B, I'm going to actually be able to command higher budgets and build a great business around it. Now, I think the argument for going B2C, which is kind of what Mr. Beast is doing, you're aiming for mass viewership, right? You're aiming for a large following, and your dollar amount collected per subscriber is going to be a lot lower, but you get to reach a lot more people. You get a lot more famous by doing that, right? So it just depends on what you want to do, and it depends on what you're good at. So I would say, look, if you can build an audience first, you're gonna create a good income for yourself. And if you want to parlay that income, you can go think about, okay, where can I go reinvest that money? Can I go invest it and buy an apparel company, or can I just go build apparel? And there's a lot of companies that allow you to do that, and then go from there, right? But you start with the audience first. I think if you go with the business, so let's say you build a burger shop on its own. It's very competitive already. You're competing with McDonald's, you're competing with Jack in the Box, Burger King, Carl's Jr. These are just a lot of burger chains that I know in California. You're competing with In-N-Out Burger as well. You're competing with Shake Shack. So it's very competitive. So how do you differentiate yourself? Well, Mr. Beast, it's easy. He's got a brand. But if you're doing it, you're starting from scratch. It's going to be very competitive. It's going to be a lot harder to make the dollar amount that you need to start to reinvest, right? Mr. Beast, what he did first was he built the audience, and then now he can collect so much money that is basically his investment vehicle. So he takes that money and goes reinvest it, and that's why he's able to give away Lamborghinis. He's able to give away $1 million, and he's able to build 300 restaurants like this, right? And shoot to #1 on the App Store. So you have a lot more. You have a lot more leverage, in my opinion, especially him with his following amount. You have a lot more leverage, and you have a lot more optionality, right? Because then what happens is you can again take the revenue that you have, which is basically funding. You don't need to receive funding from anybody else. That is the funding that you get, and then from there, you go look at what other options have become available to you. Because I think a lot of people that say, oh, you need to have your 10-year goal, your 20-year goal, your 30-year goal out. a lot of information changes over time, right? So a lot of opportunities are presented to you that you want to just jump on, right? So I think yes, you should definitely have a long-term plan, but look at what Mr. Beast has done. He's kind of just enjoyed the ride, continues to build content, and then if an opportunity comes by or a really good idea comes by, he's gonna go out there and do it, right? And he's got crazy ideas all the time, and I think that's another one. I'm just gonna go build out 300 restaurants and maybe give you a lot of money, give you $1,000 to come eat at my restaurant. That says a lot about him, right? He is focused on the long term, but short term there are going to be a lot of opportunities that come by, and I think the flip model of going for audience first is very much going to be, we're going to see a lot more of that. So that is it for today. Go to levelingup.com to learn more about the book I have coming called Leveling Up. It's about playing and winning at the game of life, right? So that's it for today, and we will see you tomorrow.